Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Alpha Centauri Let's Play. This is Northstar. For those of you new to my channel, check out this series in the beginning. I have all my different series organized into playlists, including my politics videos. I'm disabled with long COVID. I always play the quickest heads up, and sometimes I go into tangents or things in my mind or political commentary or whatnot. So that's the nature, that's my style. I gotta engage you guys somewhat. If I just sit here and don't talk, it's boring as hell. But this is the stuff I can manage to find something interesting to say about sometimes. So, playing here is the peacekeepers, the UN peacekeepers, the ones loyal to the original UN charter. Of course, they're an example of liberalism, and really their ideology is center-right. Even if people think they're left, they're not. They're more like the Democrats in the United States, center-right to center-left, except, I don't know, maybe more center-left because UN World Food Program, stuff like that. But probably not super amenable to socialism, even though they're not barred from running planned economy. Definitely hypocritical at times. Some people even hate Law for some of the things he does with his wife and his wife's DNA, and I'm not going to get into that right this second. He's got a more sympathetic backstory than I think some people are giving credit, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do things that are deeply problematic or messed up. Here, developing my bases. I guess I had a little insight into the kind of political context of something like this. Hold on one second. Sorry, some phone experienced host process running, and I swear Windows adds all these bullshit programs you don't want, and they're probably doing it to invade people's privacy, collect their data, profit off them, sell their data, and that's if it's not some time. Well, sometimes maybe to the government. Big Brother is watching, after all. If you think you're free in the U.S., well, you're deluding yourself. Not really. 45 nutrients to grow. Plus 3, it'll be, yeah, exactly, no waste. I got this growing. Working this tile. Interestingly, this is the most minerals the space can produce without causing eco damage. I couldn't find anything about it guaranteeing the first pop being instantly, so maybe I was mistaken about that. Or maybe it was on a mod or certain difficulty setting, or goodness knows. What is for sure is there's no reason to necessarily risk the first eco damage early. There's no reason to ever push your first pop, fungal pop before you're doing like tree farms and such like that, or Centauri preserves. And actually, actually, sometimes you might want to do it earlier just so you have time to recover from it and do another. You can increase your clean mineral limit just by doing eco damage. As long as you don't do too much too quickly, you won't cause global warming, and you can actually cause a level or two of global warming and just deploy solar shades. I don't think it goes on forever. So you could get like 1 unit of global warming, but if you have the tech for solar shades, actually counteract it. It's a little imprecise. You might lower sea levels more than they would go up, or slightly less. So you could have a few tiles go underwater, a few more tiles come up to land, but I'd probably opt for bring more into land. But yeah, I'm developing my bases. There's no iron rule here of a faction having its citizens' best interests at heart, just as there is in our own world of a nation or capitalism. I was thinking about how people think so many people, like family members I have, who are completely beyond hope with seeing the flaws in capitalism. Um, I'm a democratic socialist, by the way, Marxist, but not a Marxist-Leninist. Uh, let's see, this is 18. Yeah, I should do that. I think I ran the forced next return in order to, yeah, not have nutrient waste. Get a little closer, be able to hurry the rover. And even lab points, though. Well, people say it's waste, but I've definitely seen that right after I finish a tech, I already had tech accumulate the next, so there does seem to be some overflow that's carried over, although there may be limits to how much. Um, let's see, I was also looking up stuff. Mineworms don't seem to randomly spawn when units enter fungus next to is indirectly adjacent to bases or sensors most of the time, although rarely they still sometimes do with sensors. Maybe they still do with bases, but it's far less likely. Maybe as much as 2 tiles out, but it may be a smaller inhibitory effect in the second row. I suspect the same kind of thing is going on with random mineworm spawns, so that's why I've seen very little in the way of mineworms spawning in tiles I can see. They're next to bases like this. But that doesn't mean they never spawn. Just that having full visibility on the tiles from sensor rays and having the bases, this is reducing the rate. I do seem to remember once even getting a mineworm here next to monitoring agency, and that shouldn't have been able to. Of course, I think it was during perihelion when those rules may be a little. Maybe you can only get it in perihelion or something. I saw hints of that. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about the game. This is actually my first game ever really running lots of sensor arrays. I've never really bothered with them in the past, and I'm getting a lot less mineworm spawns, even though the difficulty is one higher than I've done in the past. Anyways, let me look through the bases real quick before I get to figure out what to do with that former. So, yeah, people have some. Yeah, this is 45. Could do that. Could do this 42, 39, 36. 3 turns like this, and then switch the solar panels. Maybe. Interesting. I didn't consider that possibility. Don't want to do it right this second, but eventually I might want to switch. Basically shifting from one mineral to one nutrient headquarters. Yeah, so this game, your productivity goes up with techs and stuff, obviously, and as you're building out around bases. But there's no rule that like how much you get paid in wages has nothing to do with how productive you are. People like to claim that's the truth. It's a freaking lie. I mean, bosses may pay slightly more for harder working workers, but they'll always pay them less than. So the incremental increase in wages will always be less than that additional productivity they're getting. The only goal of a business owner is to maximize profit. And workers as a whole, as a group, will be paid less when unemployment is higher, more when unemployment is lower, more when trade unions are strong, less when they're weak or non existent. So, yeah, it's the system that does not have your best interest in heart and will take advantage of you as much as it can. It's part of why I'm a socialist, having workers seize control of the means of production, that is, factories, farms, mines, and such, through the democratic process, ideally, with elections and reforming constitutions, such as, say, Salvador Allende attempted in Chile before the U.S. coup him. After sabotaging the country's economy, assassinating loyalist generals who didn't want to do a coup because it was unconstitutional to do a coup, obviously, and then came and rewrote the whole constitution of the country to embed neoliberalism and capitalism in the new constitution. The U.S. did that with the Chicago Boys. It's a fucked up bit of history, but the U.S. has done so many crimes against humanity and coups and assassinations and genocides. Yeah, 6 genocides, 7 depending on whether you count a specific incident as a genocide. So yeah, which is unbelievable. Stuff like the Guatemalan genocide, the Indonesian genocide, the Bangladesh genocide, all U.S. supported regimes that were put up to this, and in many cases, in fact, 2 of those 3 I just listed were driven by exterminating socialists from the population. In Indonesia, it was the Indonesian government killing anyone who was even vaguely associated with socialism, including trade unionists in the country, militant trade unionists. In Bangladesh, it was because Bangladesh declared independence and elected a left-wing leaning government. It was a Marxist-leaning government, even though it wasn't actually Marxist. So Pakistani government tried to exterminate anyone who was left-wing in Bangladesh, and then there was ethnic hatred added in. Guatemalan genocide was more about control of natural resources and the Maya people resisting exploitation of the natural resources in areas they lived. Kind of like imagine the Native Americans resisting oil pipelines today. It's like that, and the response was to kill them all, with U.S. aid helping in the extermination efforts indirectly by supporting the police while this was going on in Guatemala and their families. And yeah, it's the U.S. loves to provide not quote non-weapon support to genocides, but sometimes also weapons and bombs, like in Indonesia. So, and Bangladesh, and what's going on in Palestine, if you consider genocide. So, I do. Didn't I just? I definitely swapped that. Although I think when it grows, it gets 1 turn yield. So I was like, I guess this is fine. I didn't lose anything. Probably.
Request confirmation.
I would have to go back and look at the older videos to be sure.
Confirmation.
Don't have a foil in the Ocean Institute yet to. Because I was thinking if I just poke a little more on the coast. The heck? You know, I swear it was further in this game than this. Scheiße. I don't know which. What the heck is going on? I went 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm almost certain I did that last video. Did I load the wrong save because I didn't load right over both of them? Wasn't that one? Gah, I must have forgot to save after exiting before. I'm sorry, guys. Cool. Could do that. This to 40 for 1 turn. versus that. It's one more nutrient, one less mineral and energy. It would allow the base to grow 1 turn sooner, at least. Which means, yeah, I think that's probably worth it. Since that nutrient can be exchanged back with the forest pop. Come out ahead, so I'll just have to pop back to HQ next turn to change the assignment again. Alright. Well, that stuff is saved in. I mean, well, it is now. I'm sorry, I'm 100. I'm positive you guys must have had to rewatch some stuff. All right. Let's see. Get this far. There's the artifact, and then there's more exploration. After this. 40 for a C-former unit. Yeah, no. I could use another laser skim ship, I think. And I'd like to have some off the Spartan's coast. Are we 20? Yep. Heck, I could probably get manufacturing credits worth more than that, or you know, fight some miles of the deep. All right.
Request confirmation.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend some energy then on this, so I can get on the skim ship quicker. Oh, it's gonna have to be recon rovers after that. All right. Oh, there's a pod here. How do I know that? I swear I didn't explore that tile. Probably because I explored enough adjacent ones so I filled it in. Alright, well, grab that pod. With 1, 2. Should probably do it with the transport foil, but keep exploring around here. Energy resources, at least good. This content, I think it's the last video. Having that knowledge, but it's probably uninhabited, and honestly, I should have seen a skim ship come if there's someone this close by now. So, yeah, I can set up a base right here on the coast near the energy resources. It's a decent spot once I have C-formers and want to send a calling pod overseas. Grab that continent eventually. Anyhow, so yeah, wages are based on balance between productivity. There's a good video I watched recently in second thought. It was about God, I forget what was the title, but it looked at some stuff about the history of after World War One, and there was a huge uptick in labor organizing, and it was interesting to see. It basically was about the origins of fascism, how there was a huge uptick in organizing. Wages went way, way up in Germany and Italy, and this resulted in the rich funding fascist movements to crush the labor unions. The one thing I'll say to Law's credit here is that he cannot run. Well, you can't see it because it's not an option yet, but he cannot run police state. He can nerf staple pops. I might even eventually end up doing that because at this point, maybe eventually the people, the peacekeepers, rise up and demand a more just government and planned economy, democracy, and yeah. But for now, it might get used a little bit. Um, I was checking opinion factors. It doesn't seem factions dislike you for doing minor atrocities in your own population. Just get sanctions. So it may be worth it with the itsy bitsy bits of commerce I get. In theory. In theory. I have a treaty with Santiago and I don't seem to be getting any commerce from her. Yep. Nope. No commerce at all. Huh. Harbor bases don't produce enough energy in mine, or anyways. That is interesting. Give me a sec to consider what to do with this form. Well, that took me a sec as usual. I went viewed a few things too, including I noticed I seem to be doing well now in pop, although I'm only actually one ahead of Santiago. I checked it was ecological engineering is the tech that lifts the mineral limit. So that comes right after gene splicing. Ethical calculus might actually have some uses if I want to lift that mineral limit, steal military techs from Santiago, but it's a little risky to do that since I don't have much time to implement the new techs. Although I can just, a lot of units could be upgraded if I have a lot of energy in reserve, so that's a potential thing there. Wanted to check something here, so this might require a rollback. Oh, okay. Yes, so I can plant force over surveys. It doesn't destroy them. It would give me a warning. But anyways, the obvious thing is to do a condenser there. Now that will make this a rolling rainy tile if I want to do a farm mine there. And a sec next to the existing farm. Which is only moist. Do condenser there to make this 4 nutrient tile. That might not be a terrible idea. I was thinking of little ways I could optimize down here, but really, best thing to do is largely to let the there's a farm there. Largely let the forests grow. There's a couple places I could do farm mines, but just getting nutrients into defense commands that grows up and it can work more of these forests is probably a higher yield thing. Well, it takes a while to kick in. I can insert here. I think I was doing it so it could be overgrown. Oh yeah, and so this tile could be carved out from the fungus and get a farm and mine that too. Right. Because the one here can only benefit defense command, but maritime needs more stuff to work. They can provide 2 nutrients instead of 1. Cool. Give me a sec more. I need to stretch. Sorry about that. I did need to get up to need to stretch. And well, I stayed with a family member because I'm on COVID and being disabled. Thought that it's rough because this person has my whole life. It's nothing new, been mildly abusive. A lot of shitty family. My father was extremely abusive as growing up, for instance, so it's not him, although he did chill out some later when he was away from my mom. Seemed to bring out the worst in him, but that's no excuse for any of what he did. This person I'm staying with, it's always do this for me, do that for me. All kinds of manipulation. This person knows that just going up and downstairs can be tiring for me, and so is always asking me to run things up and downstairs for them, insulting me, calling me names, getting angry if I won't do these things for them. Constantly combination of hostile actions, withholding affection, control, implied threats of leaving me homeless, a situation where the government makes housing assistance like a 9-year waiting list and doesn't provide enough support to live on, especially because I'm screwed out of Social Security disability because some of the work I did was for university while I was a grad student, and thus payroll tax exempt through this exemption at the mid-90s just to screw over people, young people who become disabled. Also got screwed by family in a couple of ways that prevented me from working as much, such as them reneging on a promise to help me move after grad school. And I was in a rural area, and after years of, especially my father, but family, oh, you don't want to get too much debt, you don't want to get too much debt. My mother, like, because college isn't for everyone, but then also expected they would go to college, but then not respecting my choice to do biology. Oh, you must do engineering. It's ridiculous. I've put up with so much shit from family, and they mistreat me, have always mistreated me, my parents, and some other individuals too, but especially my parents. Disrespect, abuse, put up with, and I don't know. I've had a rough life, replete with bullying and terrible luck, and getting long COVID was terrible luck. It's just, and minor health issues. It just sucked so hard. But I'm tough and more resilient than almost anyone I've met, and yet people do not. They should treat me with more respect because I've been through so much and keep going and trying to help people. And don't result in just getting selfish. But whatever. Not you guys aren't here to hear that. You're here to hopefully get a little entertainment and maybe the commentary you find amusing. I don't know. So if there's a very low odds of mindworms spawning and moving here, I wonder. I bet the random spawns are pretty rare too. Wonder if I should send this recon rover on its way. I'm a little nervous about the Spartans. One thing at a time. Upgrade that rover. This that's outside any big fat cross near a sensor has probably got the worst chances of spawning random mine worms. So I should be aware of that. Oh yeah. Also, odds of apparently it's 1 in 3 of a random mine worm when you enter a fungus tile. Without any reductions like sensor rays or such. It's 1 in 9 along rivers. Of course, trying to enter a fungus tile, you may not enter it all. You can only enter 1. A rover could potentially patrol 6 river tiles, so it can be better, and you can not have to end on a fungus and be at combat disadvantage. So rivers are still good to patrol. It's 1 in 27 on a road through a fungus tile, which you can get through fungus blooming on roads or a late game secret project. So people who say you should patrol on roads through fungus, no, that's actually a bad idea. If you're trying to get worms quickly, that is not. But there's a lot of misinformation about this game. There's also a lot of people just being assholes and assuming their way of playing is the only right way. Reminds me of some nastier, more narcissistic people I met in life. I mean, gamers aren't toxic as a group, but there are individual gamers who are toxic. So, um, there's many ways to play this game. I hate when people sit there and diss, for instance, infinite city spam. They know nothing about what the real world's like. They think it's unrealistic. Apparently, they've never gone to the Midwest, where there's little tiny cities all over the place. They're like, 20, 30, 40,000 people cities. People don't live out in the countryside anymore. They live in little cities in the countryside mostly. Um, like maps of the United States, you get the idea there aren't cities because it doesn't show anything but the biggest cities. But if you actually set, sometimes maps have a way to show the smaller cities, and if you make them show the smaller cities, you'll see it's just coded. Infinite city spam is literally what every real civilization ever has done. Just some cities get really big, others not. If you want some cities to be really huge, supply crawlers can actually convey resources from a base to another base, like taking nutrients, minerals, energy out of the queue of one base into another. Of course, it consumes the crawler for only moving one resource, so it's not cost effective at all. But neither is, say, using colony pods to exceed the pop caps as Morgan early of without hab complexes or hab domes, but people do that too. Um, or of course, you could work tiles that are in the radius of the smaller cities for bigger ones, so that you don't have to make them big. Although all of this kind of stuff is not necessarily cost effective, including just spamming too many cities. The meta for the people who figured it out, the numbers is usually to grow up to your bureaucracy cap where you start getting extra drones and just stop building new cities. Infinite city spam is a great way to get more out of the land, but it's not usually worth the investment in a competitive game. So it's purely just either a slow builder diplomacy heavy multiplayer game where people aren't hyper aggressive, or it's against the AI when, you're already ahead and you just don't feel like a war at the moment, while your advantage is probably at its relatively high greatest anyhow. Um. All right. Well, 1 in 3 odds. That's pretty good. Try and move in there. Does not seem that I got any mine worms, but there was always a possibility. Huh. Where to send this transport? Here I'm doing a condenser, because I really need nutrients. Try not to emphasize them too much, because I do need energy and minerals in the short run to keep my military strong, but nutrients are, in many ways, the best long-term investment. Here and there, I'm trying to this condenser, and I'll probably do the farm mine here partly, so I can get minerals to Maritime Command. I could do a forest, but that would stop. I mean, there's already a forest. This could work. The base needs more nutrients to grow it all appreciably. And I want to cut up some xenofungus anyways, so I remove it. Is there a different rover I might replace this with? This is a hardened one, so it's seen combat. Nope, even if I remove this in the fungus. No, so is not. Alright. Probably would not have wanted to work this tile with a condenser. It would have been just a 2-1 tile. Not worth the loss of minerals, but. So I just did the condenser first. Creates a brief window where, especially if, say, I have to pull the formers, say, due to mineworm incursion or something, which makes then that period where maybe it could get overgrown, the forest. I said it's a rolling tile. So I'll probably, let's do a farm now. Don't think working on a farm stops the forest. But I'd have to cancel the farm. Work on the farm next turn if it grew in. Or else it would just clear again. And turn the forest into minerals. Anyways, so yeah. In next turn, space is not a golden age, so yeah, I'll have 15 to go, and I'll be up to 4 nutrient surplus. Could afford to do one less nutrient, but only one less. Boom, extra lab point for a turn. Some point. I'm not sure how the overflow works, so yeah, maybe next turn. Alright, so things did briefly change. Headquarters and Forest Agency will both get a switch to their production next turn. This will swap from this mine to this forest for a turn to get an extra lab point. The other will oh, wait. When did this become possible? Oh yeah, I just stopped working that forest river just now. That's okay, it's not like I missed an opportunity. Huh. Alright, well. In that case, never mind that. Forest agency is fine. There's no reason. The only way I'd want to switch is if a forest bloomed here. Or grew there. Before it grew. I might be able to get an extra lab point. Which could happen. It's not non-zero chance. But alright. Yeah, so I deal with families. Treats me poorly, but like any good abusers, unfortunately, they know my limit and they will always do all things or back off right when I reach the point where I just can't take any more of what they're doing. They ready to just screw it. I'll go find someone else I can stay with or something. They play my situation. It's tough. I read how much an option thanks to our society, United States society anyways. You may not be American, not taking good care of the disabled and providing adequate access to things like housing assistance that even if you get it, you get really shitty housing. You live in a slum if you even get it at all. And it's hard to keep, like, a lot of landlords won't accept it. It's hard to use, hard to keep, and yeah, fucking ridiculous what our system does now. It always beats on the poor and blames them for society's problems, but it's really the rich who are responsible for the problems, who take all the money, pay workers less than half what they produce. Well, some of that goes into reinvestment. Some of profit gets reinvested, so it's not all. I mean, society needs to keep growing its means of production, but how much what the rich bring in do they reinvest? Maybe a quarter of what they take from workers. The rest they spend on their lifestyles. So, yeah. It's thanks to billionaires having enormous wealth that ordinary people have nothing. So, It's not just what the wealth they have that's misleading. People just calculate and say, oh, if you're stupid, it would only be this much. It's that the whole system works suboptimally because of this enormous inequality. It creates distortions of the economy, and so its society is actually less productive than it would be with greater levels of equality, and productivity grows slower. Um, there's other reasons for it, but the should probably get this. Um, this rover. Um, down here. Actually, I might want to swap it to support from HQ soon. UN headquarters. Reason for this is getting, if a war is going to break out, I'm not even sure next rover I produce after this one, we make it down to the front in time. Plus, I'm falling behind in forming. Or behind where I'd like to be. I think I can afford squeeze in another formers there. Get stuff done faster. Mostly because the base is so darn distant from everything. And then I guess I'll go back to rovers for like a second wave if things go bad with the Spartans. Take a while to mass another one if I get pushed back. Alright. Defense Command is working on skim ship. Maritime Command is not working on a skim ship. Alright, it really should be. If I have a strong navy, I can not only deal with the Spartans at sea and know the lay of the land south of them along the coast, but contact other factions and maybe also protect some sea formers more effectively. All right. Yeah, so I'm trying to get this YouTube channel to where I can monetize it and have some independence. I'm so close to having a decent life. I was going to become a physician probably. A path I was on. It was special masters, dual degree with something else. I had straight 4.0. I'd already gone to med school interview at a point where I would have had to drop out of the program early to go. Med schools were seriously considering me. I had an amazing MCAT score. I was going to make it. I actually got a really good research opportunity, but then that pandemic kind of messed with that. Person I did research with was very smart but terrible at communicating by email only. He was no idea he didn't get more information, but he didn't actually say that the emails he was getting, the updates weren't providing as much as he wanted. It's like he said nothing but expected. He was a bad communicator by email. He might have been better in person. The surgeon I was doing research under, but anyways, in fact, you really can't be a surgeon without being a good communicator in person because you're in surgery. Pandemic put stress on everyone though. But nonetheless, things are going well. I was maybe not going to get into my very top choice med schools, but I almost certainly would have gone into a med school. Would have definitely been able to make it through academics. And, well, my only real worry is residency, because you can always get into residency and struggle to get through it. But I had a very good shot at a good future. And then I got disabled long COVID. Was able to finish my special masters in the final semester. And I'm obviously too sick to go med school or become a doctor. And the government is cutting its research investments, so I doubt we'll see a cure for long COVID anytime soon. Not that it's not possible, but that the money is not being invested. Investment. It's an important thing. It's essentially, in many ways, a moral issue, although people pretend like it's not. How does society work to improve the future? Invest a little more in my Navy here.